Hello guys, Nigel here with you, Nigel's Modelling Bench, and welcome back. This is now part 3. This was going to be like one video, and now we're on 3. There's so many things to do with this model. So now we're on part 3 of the mods to this Lancia Delta Integrale. That's the Italeri 1/12 scale kit. Let me just grab the instructions and I can show you if you're looking for it in the shops. There it is. That's what's on the box front. The model of a Lancia Delta Integrale, but Lancia Delta HF Integrale 16 valve 1990 rally car of Mickey Biasion and Tony Siviero. Okay, so that's it. Right, here you've got the roll cage all built up. Nothing more to do with that really. As you know, I modified the front of that. If you haven't seen this little series of videos, I've done mods and then mods 2, and now this is mods 3. It's not about building the model, it's about modifying it to make it more accurate. And you can see the work I've done on the body. I've done some sanding now, and you can see wherever there's grey patches, that's Mr. Surfacer. It's where there's sink marks in the body. This bit back here on mine, I don't know if yours is the same, but had a bloody great big step in there which I've sanded out and managed to keep the line straight. The way I've done that is to come along with a magic marker. Always pick up the fine when I want the medium, and vice versa, and just basically go along and put some good black lines along there, or whatever colour you're using, and then come along with a sanding stick. This is a 400 grit. Okay, and lightly let the sanding stick do the work, and just lightly go over where it is you need to do the sanding. And what will happen, you will see a line appear. Okay, and you want that line to be straight, because that line, see this crease along the edge of the door here. Okay, if I show you from the front, you'll see it from the front. There's that corner there that I'm pointing at. That follows all the way down, all the way along there. So basically you want a nice straight line, just like you got on this side. You want a straight line all the way along. Okay, so if it starts to wander up and down, then you know you've gone too far. You need to get some filler out or something and correct it. So there we go. So we can see now that even though I'm sanding right away back, get all that marker off. Okay, we've got a lovely straight line going along there. In fact, it may actually kick up a bit there, so I'm going to sand a bit more. If it comes up this way, you sand more off. If it goes that way, you're going to have to fill it or sand more off of this. So there you can see we've got that nice straight line, and the pen is a brilliant guide to keep us going that way. Okay, and it needs to be quite good, because back here is the dark blue of the Martini. You can see here it's the dark blue of the Martini crossing over, and the light blue behind it. So that darker blue is going to show up anything, because it's a very dark colour. You know, like black is the worst colour for showing up imperfections. White is the best. So there we go, just remove all that pen from there. And there we are. I have to make sure I get every little bit of that pen off, because otherwise it'll come through when you prime. I keep saying it, when you prime it'll come through your primer, when you put your top coat on it'll come through your top coat, unless you seal it all in first. But it's best to just get it all off, and then you don't have the risk. You can also see that down here I've rescribed all the panel lines of the doors and everything, because they're very, very soft on this kit. They're very, very shallow. So, and also you can see here I went wrong. So I've put some Mr. Surfacer over there so that I can sand it back and correct my errors. There we go. So, okay, so that's the first thing. Just keep sanding. Looks like we've got a sink mark there actually. I'm sanding away and nothing's happening. So, looks like we filled in a sink as well that I didn't even notice was there. But this is going to have a really good coat of paint. What I might do is paint the whole body black and then try and sand all the paint off. I've seen quite a few Japanese people do that, and they paint the whole body black and then they sand the whole body, and it shows up any low spots or anything, and they can either sand them out or fill them or whatever. But I think I have to take a lot of care with this, because this body, as you can see, the sink marks here, bloody terrible, and here. But there was one big one here, big one there. Obviously where you got a thick section of this plastic with the pillar, and it's all just sunk down. They've taken it out of the mould too quickly, and we've got all sink marks around here where we've got holes. If I just put a black magic marker across the top of there, I'll show you what I mean. Underneath here are holes for the air intake thing, and you can see when I run across there with a sander, you can see those high spots where the sander's touching, and it's not touching the plastic around it. So that needs taken care of as well. So we just keep sanding that until the until the high spots disappear. And I would seriously suggest, guys, stick that piece in before you paint the body, because the plastic on the end of those holes is quite thin, and when you put your glue in it may sink, so you have to do some filler work, and you don't want it to sink after you've painted it all. So I would definitely stick that piece in before you paint the body. We've got some ejector pin marks on the inside to get rid of. This here, that is the masking for the fuel tank. I've painted the fuel tank in XF85 rubber black, and I've made up a mask before I painted it. Looks quite good, doesn't it? White filler dust on there. I've made up a mask before I paint it, so I can put that mask on afterwards and spray that cover on the top silver. So that's why I've done that, and I've just stuck it in there for safekeeping. So there we are. So that's the work on the body. Lots and lots of sanding, lots and lots of prep work. Scribe your panel lines, job done. One of the biggest bugbears I've had with this kit, as you all know, I can show you in these photos here. I've mentioned it before, and if you've got the kit you'll see it, and if you saw my review you've seen it. I think I've mentioned it in every video I've done. Is these top mounts. You can see there in the photograph, you can see the way they've done it. You've got that huge nut on the top of the turret that is actually what they use to adjust the caster camber, and that is a huge, underneath there is a huge ball, huge halo ball mount, and basically in there is where the top of the strut goes. So what they've decided to do is in front of that, if you see, they've got the shock absorber coming through the strut top, and then a great big plastic C-clip stuck to the top of it. For a 12 scale car with full engine detail and everything, it's disgusting. It's absolutely horrible. There we go. So you can see the strut comes through. The strut comes through the top here, and then you've got this great big plastic lump C-clip. And it wouldn't be so bad if it was a metal C-clip, but it's not. It's a plastic thing, and it looks bloody horrible. See, they've hidden it there. You can see that's where it is. What they've got here is just a flat piece of plastic. Well, in reality, it shouldn't be like that. And I'll put a picture up now that shows you how it should look. And I'm just looking here. Yeah, they've included it there. Let's see if they've got a better one here. I'll just see if there's a better picture of it. Yeah, there you go. You can see on there, you've got in front of the actual turret. I don't know how well you can see it. This is bloody plastic rod sticking through with a great big plastic C-clip on it. It's horrible. So as I say, this is what it should look like. Here's a photograph now of how it should look. So here's my body, and those horrible bits are gone. And I've basically, what I've done is just cut it all out and then just left a little rim around the edge to represent the turned up edge that's there in reality. Then I've had to find something. Originally I found these headlamps off of something or other in my spares box, but then realised they're a bit too domey. And then I went to my clears box and I found these, and they're probably I don't know what they are, but they're like contact lens shape, and they're probably blisters for windows or something. I've got a feeling they might be off a 1/48 Hercules, because I had a 48 scale Hercules, and the older, I don't know about the newer ones, I've got a couple of the newer kits in the stash. The older ones, they used to have all the clear parts in them for all the different variants, and I don't think the one I built had these windows in, so I had them in my spares box, and they fit in there like that. And as you can see, if you forget the fact they're clear, but they go in there, as you can see, they look very much like the real thing. Now obviously I've got to hollow the back out to get them to sit deeper up in, but they're going to look great. So what I need to do now is get the nut. I've cut the nuts off, cut my nuts off of the, before I drilled them out. I cut the nuts off of there. You can see that were originally there, and they're the great big nut with the shaft in the middle. So now what we've got to do is file a couple of flats onto these things to get those nuts to sit on there nice and flat, as I showed you in the photograph. So I've got some 10mm masking tape discs here, cut with my crappy circle cutter, and then I've marked the centres, and then I've come over 2mm. So basically what I can do now is take these up, okay, and then I can put these discs on these semicircles and position them centrally by looking at the position of the edge of the tape in relation to the rim of the clear part. So I can go in like that, come across, just like so, and get it even. Okay, so those bits of tape are on there now, pretty even, and I can basically now come along with my drill. This is a David Union drill. Now you normally see me use this little one here, which I believe is also a David Union, or you'll see me use these things here, which are not very nice. This thing is like the Rolls Royce of all pin vices. It's the David Union 150, and it goes from 0.3 all the way up to 5mm. As you know, with those other type things, you're forever changing the collets. You can see with this one, it opens right up like that, and it goes all the way down to 0.3. It's fantastic. So basically now what I'm going to do is drill a hole. I'm going to go for 0.8. And the reason I'm drilling a hole is so that I can stay around that hole that will mark my centre. You don't really need to drill a hole, but the trouble is if I don't, as soon as I sand, I lose the mark that I've made. I want these to be fairly even. I'll keep that drill in there nice and square. There we go. Right, so get myself a prick. Yeah, another one other than me, just another prick. And I'm going to make a hole there. Now, I'm going to check first of all actually that that's going to work out all right. In fact, that may be a little bit too far back, so I'm just going to come over a touch. Just going to come over a touch. There we go. And that plastic's soft. So I'm just going to come over a touch like that and just make a mark. There we are. And then I can drill a hole into there perpendicular to the surface where I'm at, and do the same on this one. Hold it from the side so I don't drill through and drill into my finger. Okay, and then we can look at and make sure they look roughly the same. Yes, they do. So now I've got a mark to work to for when I start sanding, and then I'm going to come along with a fairly coarse sanding stick and try and stay square over that hole. If you notice, I'm sanding in one direction. If you sand in one direction, you're pretty much guaranteed to get flat. If you keep with this, you'll end up with it being radiused, probably. And as you can see, what I'm able to do, because I've got a hole there, I can sand it so that the sanding is even either side of the hole. Like if I'm sanding on this side of the hole, then I know to bring the sanding stick back. If it's all on this side, I need to bring it down. You know what I mean? So you know what I mean, innit? So there we go. We can sand that flat on there, and then that nut should sit on there like so. And then what we will have, if I can mock this up, what we will have is that in there like that, and then we will have this nut sat on there like that, and as you can see, now it looks very much like what I showed you in the photograph. So I can't tip it over its side obviously because the nut will fall off, but if I put my finger there, you can see the kind of effect we're going to get. So there we go. So I'm going to finish off sanding these, and then I'll glue the nuts on, get my nuts glued on, and then I'll come back and show you how it looks. Right, so here we are, we've pushed on a bit. So there's the clear dome, if you like, and we've got the actual nut on there now. You can see, glued on. When you look at it from the side, you can see how it looks from the side. It's kind of on an angle. So when we put it in, it sort of looks like this, okay, which I know is difficult to see because it's clear, but it's kind of like the real thing, better than we had before. The other thing to do is, what I did here, I checked, if I just grab a piece of tape, and stick it on the back of the R, should get it in the right direction. There we go. Now if I stick this in here, then we will see that it fits in there lovely. Guess what? The camera's on, so it's going to play up. So it fits in there lovely. There we are, just like that. Okay, so that's roughly in the right place, and it's come up through, and you can see that it's sticking up through quite a way. And the problem with that is when we put the body on, okay, always thinking ahead of me. The problem with that is when you've got the body on, make sure the body's in the right sort of position. It's roughly there. You could, this body, if you're doing dry fitting, the wheel arches are very, very close to the edge of the actual bodywork, so that's how you can tell if the body's in the right place. If we put the bonnet on, or the hood, as you say in America, then basically you can see this side's sitting down and this side's been slightly held up. And if I put my finger under there, you can see that I can actually push the hood up, the bonnet up, with the control. So what with the top mount control, So what I've done, and yes, you can see on here all these grey marks. This isn't my dirty fingers. This is sig marks in the bonnet. So and you can see on the back here, I think it's 22 ejector pin marks in the back of the bonnet as well, which is wonderful. So what I've done, I've made these little rings, and of course when you look under here, I'll just get this one out, you don't have much room to play with up in there. So I've made these so they're kind of very, very slim, and they just sort of fit in just like so. I'm using a cotton bud to position them, and you, as I say, you have very, very little room to play with them. And then I'm able to fit that in there. Oh, let go of my bloody finger. Right, I can fit that in there now. The tape has taken over, so let's push it down and get away from the tape. Get over to here. Oh, come on. Okay, so there we are. We're in now with the spacer in there, and you can see that now I can put the body on just like so, in the right spot. Yes, and then we can put the bonnet or the hood on, and now it's not being held up by that top mount. So just be a little bit careful of that. Make sure that if you are doing this mod, but I think you'll agree, even though it is done with clear parts and they're not perfectly positioned, it does look so much better than just that flat plastic plate with the bloody hole in it. I've drilled out those studs. There was no stud at the front, so I've drilled out the back and the front. I'm going to put a fresh stud in there because the ones at the back were nice, but there was nothing at the front. So there we go. So get those all nicely positioned now, get them glued in, and now because they're a dome, I've got the dome in there to put the top mount in. When I actually put the strut in, I've got the dome in there to put the top mount in. What I can do then is cut a little circle of plastic card, stick it in the dome so it's the right depth for the right ride height, and then drill a hole in the middle, and the strut can sit in there. And maybe I could even get in there with that horrible C-clip and clip that into the top of the strut, and then glue that plastic disc into the bottom of the dome. We shall see. I've actually taken a strut off the sprue. Here it is here, and we can see that the actual lower pivot is very, very close to the wheel centre. So as you can imagine, it was designed to have the actual, where it was coming through was probably about 4mm, which was about 4mm forward of where I'm going to have it now. So you can imagine if I move this strut, if you imagine where my fingers are now is holding this, and that's the pivot, okay? If you imagine I move that strut So there we are, 5mm. Let's say 5mm. If I move that strut 5mm, you can see the actual position, center position of the wheel, you know, it hardly changes at all. So I'm not worried about the position of the wheel and the wheel arch. And at the end of the day, if I have to, I can always cut that pin off and you know, re-drill this and put a brass rod in there with a cap on it or something. Yeah, it's not, nothing's insurmountable. It's a piece of plastic. And I know a lot of people say, oh, you're so brave, you got a £200 model and you're kind of up. Well, you know, it's how you do stuff. You can build it out of the box if you want to, and I'm sure that many people will, and I'm sure they'll end up with a very, very beautiful model. But you know, I enjoy modifying models, as you all know, which is probably why I probably never bloody finish anything. Well, saying I don't finish anything is wrong. I do finish models, but that bonnet fits beautifully in there. But it's just a shame about the state of the thing. You know, when you consider this is half the price of a Model Factory Hero kit and twice the price of a 12th scale Tamiya Porsche, you know, it ain't really there, is it? It's not good. Okay, so moving forward, the top mount's done. Happy with them. I've looked at the height of everything, and the way it used to sit before, well, the way it was designed to sit. Let me get these little brackets off of here. The way it was designed to sit, that would go up in there like that. And as you can see, the actual head, you can just see it's poking through there. Would just sit above the just proud of there. So that's what I'm basically looking for, is that being just proud of the top. So if I stick, when I say stick, I mean plonk, put that top mount on there, and then push it up into here, like so. I don't think you can see it, but I can see that it's just short, so it's probably going to sit 1 or 2 millimeters higher on the front. So what I'll have to probably do is just shorten the end of this pin or drill into this to get it in there. But that's basically going to sit in there like that now, rather than sit forward. Okay, so happy with that. What I may do is put a magnet in the end of here and like a piece of steel fret or something in there, and that'll give me the ability then to lengthen and shorten it as required. So I started looking at all this stuff, and I've started getting a few bits off the sprue and looking at bits. And the other thing I saw on the weekend, I saw a video from Harry Houdini talking about that Fiat 500 he struggled with. He's now given up on it and given it back to the guy who commissioned him. But it sounds like it's very, very similar to this, and they've got all this wonderful detail and all these wonderful moving parts, but it's a load of crap. And there is no other way to put it, I'm afraid. It's like if you look at this, you've got this plastic pin on the bottom of this suspension arm. That is just asking to break, because as soon as you've got this great big model that weighs a ton, as soon as you push down on the suspension, that is just trying to go that way. Okay, that is always going to be trying to pull out, and it's just going to snap off. And then you've got these pathetic little pins you see on here. These pins, that's your suspension pivots. So this one's going at the rear, okay, and this one's going at the front this way round. And then get the chassis turned over. This is going to plock into this hole here. Come on. Right, always the same with the camera on, isn't it? That's going to go in there, and then the strut's going to turn around. Feels like it's going to break without touching it now. So basically we've got those two pivots there, and that strut, that suspension arm, turn it around so I can hold it and you can see what I'm doing. That suspension arm is pivoting on those two tiny little plastic pins with the top mount up there, okay, and then you've got this wheel, a rubber tyre hanging off it all. It's gonna break. I mean, it's just rubbish. So what I'm thinking is the best chance I've got, without completely remaking everything, is to drill out these ends and put some brass in there. And sort of, drill right through and have the brass rod in there to try and give it some strength. The same here, drill through there and then put that cap back on the end. So I'll show you how I do that, but I'm not sure what size it all is. If it's all, I mean, the thing is, you could always, if it's too small, you could always drill it out. So that's 1.4. That's 1.4. So I'll probably actually drill these out and use some 1.5 brass if I've got any. And then the same down here, you've got this snap-in part here, which is, I mean, it comes out all right, but that is, you can see that that is just asking to break. And then up here, I mean, this is total rubbish. You got the top of the strut here going in there. Look at it. Look at it. It's just bollocks, isn't it? I'm sorry to swear, but it is just, for a £200 kit, it is abysmal. It is disgusting. I'm never buying another Italeri car kit, I can tell you that now. Harold, who often emails me, said they've got a Bugatti on the way. You can imagine what that's going to be like. God. Yeah, and then start looking at the steering. So we've got the steering column, which is going to go through this hole here. And then we've got this gear that goes on, that they do actually say in the instructions is not a gear for operating the steering. So they've got a gear on there. They've got a half-ass attempt. So they've got a pinion here. They've got a half-ass attempt at a rack. On there, look. You can see some teeth on there. So that's going to go in there. Oh, Jesus Christ. It's just junk. They should have had some metal parts in here. They really should have had some, you know, a metal. I mean, if you look at that Meng GT40, yeah, it's a bit chunky and stuff, but at least it's going to hold together. Oh, God. Look at it. It's just, I can't even put it together. It's just fucking rubbish. Excuse my language. Absolute junk. Total utter crap. I really wouldn't advise getting this kit. I'd get the Model Factory Hero one. You can get it in France for 470. You know, I know it's a lot of money, but you know, if you really want a 12 scale Delta Integrale, you're getting the 92 version as well, not the 90, so you're getting the Evo. But, that gear's going to pop in there. I want to show you this because it's quite funny. It's quite interesting. So if I can pick up that gear. Yeah, I got that gear, I think. Right, so if I can hold that together, in fact, what I'll do is I'll put a clothes peg on here. Get off. I'll put a clothes peg on here to hold it together. There we go. And then I can put my steering column wherever it went in here. If I turn that so that the gear is towards the rack, look at that. It's quality, isn't it? And what it says in the manual, it says it's only there to hold it up. I wish they'd put in the manual, I'll show you where it says it. I wish they'd put "we messed up," because you put the steering column through. It's very early in the build. Here you go. So they're saying, attention, the steering wheel is not connected. So you're not putting the steering wheel on yet because the column's got to slide over it. So you've got here, you've got that inner part of the steering rack. Then you've got this gear, and it says not functional. Okay, so it's a retainer for steering column. It looks like a gear, doesn't it? Yeah, and then when you actually put the actual rack itself in, you've got these teeth on here that are against the thing that looks like a gear, but it's just a retainer. And that's why they've had to put that, because basically it's just, look at it, it's just utter shit. It's just ridiculous. I mean, there you go, it works now, but as soon as you get it in a certain position, but there's no way it's going to steer the wheels, and I don't care. I don't want my model to be able to play with it. I just wish they'd made it. Don't have all this working crap. Don't have all working suspension and working steering if you're going to make it out of this. I mean, that steering rack is, yes, I am on one, I'm sorry. That is 1.2mm diameter plastic. I mean, look at it. It's just fucking rubbish. So this needs a lot of work. if you're going to make yourself a model, go and have a look at Harry's video and see how frustrated he gets about that Fiat 500. He was saying, you know, you sort of build it and it's all lovely and you pick it up and the weight of the wheels just snaps all the suspension off. You know, it reminds me of the old days, and I can't think what manufacturer it is. It may be Protar, which now Italeri are reboxing a lot of old Protar kits, so be careful because they were bad. And you know, you got all these working features with all these pathetic little plastic pins, and it's just dire junk. It's just, I don't know. So I'm gonna have to try and look at modifying these and get some pins in them to make them stronger, because there's just no way that's gonna last. No way on this earth that's gonna last. So staying with the steering for a minute, if you notice in the instructions here, they tell you to put the column in with that gear in the back half of the rack, and then going over the page, you're adding the front half of the rack. Well, of course that means that you can't paint the steering rack and deal with the seam when it's all sort of glued into here. So what you can do, I've just discovered on the last segment of filming, what you can do is put the gear in like that, put the rack in like that, okay, and then just drop the steering rack halves together, he says, and then that gear will stay in position and you can get the column in like that. So you can see it's picked up on those, can you call them teeth? So that's the way to do it, and then we could deal with the seam and paint it, and then it looks all nice then when it's in the engine bay. It's just trying to get a decent looking model out of this thing, but I think that's a better way of doing it, and then you can put your rack in and then pop your column in afterwards when you're ready, and that way is also you haven't got the column just sat here like this asking to be broken off. So and you don't even need to glue that, it just goes in and stays there. So I'm going to get this cleaned up and then we'll get that glued together. In fact, I can do that now on camera. Just want to get rid of that sprue nib. Where's my 400? Just get rid of that sprue nib because it comes up against a face. You've got a bit of a sprue nib there. I'm not going to worry about that. I don't ever worry about sprue nibs on glue joints, as you well know if you follow me. Just say hello to Paul. Say hello to Paul from Plastic Monkey. I know he'll be watching this. He's enjoying this Lancia thing, and I don't know if he's going to get one of these or not. I know Chris has got one. Chris from Rally Car Miniatures has got one, and he's also got something else a little bit special as well on the Delta Integrale front. I'll let him tell you about that. So I use the quick setting. Somebody's also asked, how do I know when to use which glue? I thought, bloody hell, that's a good point. So I'm going to make a video about what glues to use and when. Oh, I haven't put the bloody column in. Look at that idiot. That's talking, see? It's going to drop in that way round. Yeah, you don't realise, guys, when you're making a model and it's a bit complicated and you're struggling, imagine making a model when it's complicated and you're struggling and trying to talk as well and be comprehensible, and also be mindful of the fact that if you say one thing wrong, they get on their keyboards. You said, and the reason I'm using quick setting here is because I will show you now. Quick setting is amazing. I'm sorry I've forgotten his name. I did the part 1 of the Stug build last night, and a guy was asking on there, why do I use quick setting? And this is the reason. I've glued that together, okay, and a little drop of glue has got onto that steering rack. Now, because it's quick setting, I can feel it's on there. If I keep doing that, within seconds it's dry and it just breaks away. You know, like if you get ordinary extra thin on something, like on a wheel, you turn the wheel and it sort of just keeps turning, it's dragging and dragging and dragging, and if you've really got a lot on there, it just penetrates the plastic pin and your wheel snaps off. With the quick setting, it will contact it and you'll feel it tight, and you turn it and then all of a sudden, click, it'll just unclick. Wait till part 4 of my Stug build and you'll see on there I've done the tracks, and I use quick setting on them, and you'll see that I get glue on the pins and it's like, it's amazing stuff for stuff like this. You can see now that is free as anything. Okay, and that had glue on it just now, so that's why I use it. And I'm just going to check that this gear is still going to work. There we go. So we've got a a sort of operating steering rack, if you like. It worked the other way, so when we turn the wheels it'll turn the steering wheel, but I don't think it's got enough. There's no way you can see if I can turn it, but I can just slide it back without, you know, it's got no friction there at all. I'm not worried about toy-like features. You know, if you look at the Model Factory Hero kits, ultimate awesome detail and no operating features, you don't need it. So obviously we don't get a gator on this end. So because they've made it toy-like, or because they've made it so it's got working steering, we've lost the detail. So that's always a problem. There we go. So I'll clean that up later off camera. And there we go. So that's our steering sorted out. And that way you see then, like I said, we can put this in here. How is this going to fit into those grooves there, isn't it? So we can fit that in there. Okay, and now when we've got the bulkhead in like that, we can put our column through when we're ready, and it works. Just get the, there we go, you can see it now. But basically you can see that now you can add the column at a point when you want to, rather than have it sat there just dangling around now waiting to be snapped off. And as I say, it doesn't need to be glued, it can just sit in there and then let the column surround hold it in. So there we go, there's another little tip. Now the other thing I need to do is replace these nuts and bolts on these top mounts, which I drilled out. And as you will know, I'm doing this Stug build. I will grab it now. And inside here, you can see down inside here, we have lots and lots of nuts and bolts. See down in here. What is wrong with my lighting today? It's even worse than normal. You see we've got lots and lots of nuts and bolts down in there. So I'm going to shave some of these off because they're never going to be seen. And I'm going to use them. So wish me luck. Okay, so I've got the Stug here. I know this isn't a Lancia, but put a bit of tape over the end of the nut, and I'm just going to literally come in, because what you want to do is put your finger on there to stop it coming off, but then you'll slice the end of your finger off. So I'm just going to come in with the knife. I've got a fresh blade, and I'm just literally going to slice it off, just like so. And it doesn't matter if I damage the tank, because none of this is going to be seen. So the masking tape should have that nut on it. There we go. So now we've got our, just turn that over. So you can see now we've got a nut. We've got a nut with a stud on it. So I can take that off of there, and I can stick that on that piece of masking tape there so I don't lose it. So now we've got two. So I'll just do one from this side. So yeah guys, if you've got a Lancia now, you need to go and buy a Stug. You can actually buy these aftermarket. I know Meng do a load of them. You can buy them from a lot of different manufacturers. You could make your own, but it's so difficult to get the drill to centre on the hex. Don't know if that worked or not. No, it's still attached. So, oh, it looks like it, yeah, it did come off. It was just sat there. So there's another one. So we'll stick that on there. And then we'll get in here and get this one off. That'll be R4 then, that'll be enough. Now, I don't want to take them from here because I think this is the open bay that you're going to see everything. There we go, there's that one. So now we've got 4 studs and nuts to put on our Lancia. So I need to sand these areas here flat, and then we can stick them on. And there we go. Not perfect, but good enough. So we've got those studs in there now. So when we put those in, we've got the top mounts in as well. We can see that now we've got a much better representation of what it should be like. So there we are. Right, so I need to start looking at these pins and first of all see what brass I've got. What sort of time are we on? Okay, we've got plenty of time. So steering racks there, that's all lovely. This one here, I'm going to have to make a metal shaft to go in here. I think I can't put up with that. That is total crap. So I'm going to have to make something up, which means I'm probably going to drill through that. I may even turn something completely new up on the lathe actually. Right, okay, I've been doing some measuring up. I've got 1.2mm brass rod and I've got 1.6. And 1.6, this is the 1.2. 1.2 is too skinny, as you can see. Fits in there and it's very, very floppy. These pins are actually about 1.4, 1.35, something like that. Yeah, 1.35, 1.37, 1.38. So I've ordered some 1.5 brass rod to go in there. So I'll just have to drill these out. These holes in here I think are, oops, yeah, they're about 1.4, so I'll just draw them out to 1.5. We'll have a nice snug fit. Drill these out as deep as I can and then super glue some brass rod in there. That'll give us a nice strong pin there. So the weakest link then will be this plastic here, which will probably be absolutely fine. On here I'm probably going to put a 1.6 pin in the bottom of there, because I think that's just going to break, and I also want to put something on there to make it into a circle and pin it rather than have it like this, because I find with model cars like this they tend to just fall apart after a while. You can see it's not at all a tight fit, so they just tend to fall out, and when they fall out then they snap the top mounts and break the steering, and you know, it's just better to make it rigid and solid for now. And I'll probably actually build up suspension units that will go on as one piece sort of thing. So yeah, watch this space guys. I know there's not a lot been going on, but I'll wait for this brass rod to come now. It's going to be a couple of days obviously, and I'm also going to do some work on the back end as well. I've measured up all these pivots for the back end. They're like 1.2, so I've already got the rod for that. I've got a feeling that that is 1.2 through there. Yes, it is. I remember using a 1.2 drill to line them up, so we'll get a nice snug fit on there with a brass rod. And what I do then is I make I punch out a circle of plastic sheet and then just super glue that onto the end like a little washer. It just holds it all in place. And I'll probably do the same on there, as I say, cut that off, drill through, put a pin in, and then we're away. And as I say, make a full circle on there so it doesn't all just fall apart. So try and make this thing stay together so that when you pick it up the wheels don't fall off. Anyway, we'll call that a day for that one, because I know that people are keen to see an update. Nothing much I know, but at least you got something to watch. So I'll see you all soon. Thanks for watching and bye for now.